Hey YouTubers, Mike Borders with the Mike Borders channel. Thanks for watching. We are working on a Toyota Camry today, replacing the brake pads and rotors. It's a very simple project. Do not stress out. We are going to run you through the step-by-step on how to get it done. Let's get started. The first thing I recommend doing is supporting the rear tires with blocks. We are going to be lifting up the front end and have the front end supported on jack stands. While the car is resting on the jack stands, you do not want the car to shift. After that, let's hop inside and set the emergency brake. Before you even position the jack to lift the vehicle up to support it on jack stands, loosen the lug nuts a couple turns. The reason why is because once you get this car on the jack stand, you do not want to be tugging it to loosen those lug nuts. That will increase the possibility of the vehicle falling off the jack stands. You do not want that. Position the jack and the jack stand. Once we position this correctly and safely, we are going to release and remove the jack. Jack is removed, the jack stand is supporting the vehicle. We are going to remove all of the lug nuts and pull the tire off. We now have access to the actual caliper and rotor. On the back side, both top and bottom, 14mm bolts. Go ahead and remove both of those. Go ahead and set these in a position where they're not going to get dirty. With the bolts removed, you can now rotate this caliper up and off. Very important, this little rubber brake hose. You do not want this caliper hanging from this hose. You do not want to harm this actual brake line. So as you rotate it, position it carefully without bending or twisting this hose up on the top portion. I have positioned the actual caliper on the top portion of the rotor. There is this plate that protects the rotor, and notice the brake line again, no twists, no bends, and it is not hanging from the line. Next, I want you to take mental note of where these clips position themselves into the brake pads. We will get to that here shortly. On the back side, you will have one 17mm bolt on top as well as bottom. We are going to remove those. That will allow us to pull off this actual bracket. I grabbed some penetration fluid and I sprayed each of the 17mm bolts. I'm going to let that sit for about 20 minutes and I'll come back and pull these bolts off. Both 17mm bolts are removed, and again, at that point you can just carefully remove this entire bracket, and I will set that down. We can now remove the old rotor. Be advised, this little plastic ring will come off as you pull the rotor off, and yours might be on there pretty tight. As you can see, that's popping off, and you might need to use a hammer to get your old one off. We will set that aside. Remove the new rotor from the actual plastic bag, and be advised it comes pre-coated with an anti-rust solvent on it. You want to pull it out of the bag and remove that coating, because if you don't, the first couple times you're out driving and using the brakes, you are going to smell a very unfriendly odor. So let's go ahead and grab some brake cleaner and a rag, pull this out and clean it off. Spray both the top and the bottom, and grab a towel and just kind of work that coating off. After the new rotor is clean and dry, let's go ahead and position it on the actual vehicle. Rotor is now positioned back on the vehicle and secured by the plastic ring. Let's shift our attention back down to the bracket, and these are your caliper slides. So as you remove them, be very, very careful. You do not want to harm this rubber boot. That's what keeps the actual brake lube inside and allows this to slide. We're going to pull this out, clean it, re-lubricate it. I'll remove each caliper slide individually and grab a paper towel and thoroughly clean every portion of this entire bolt. Even grab a wire brush and thoroughly clean all that rust off the little edges here. Once you get the bolt completely clean, try to get any loose debris out of the actual insert of the bracket, and without harming this rubber boot, carefully pull that out. And we are going to, before lubricating the actual bolt, we are going to insert lubrication inside the actual boot. At this point, we are going to run a quick line up the bolt and lubricate the bolt. And I'm going to grab it by both hands and just kind of circulate this lubrication around the entire bolt. Once the bolt is thoroughly lubricated, we are going to reinsert it into the actual bracket, and we are going to push it until it is secure, and watch that rubber boot hop over this lip. Just like that. and you will do that for both. Next, let's go ahead and remove the old brake pads, and as you can tell, they have worn completely uneven, and the indication here tells me that the inner portion is so worn because these caliper slides had seized and were not moving properly. So we are going to take these off by pinching this clip in, removing both of these clips, and one by one we will remove the brake pad. As you can see here, that one's pretty worn out. I went with Duralast Gold ceramic brake pads. A lot less brake dust comes from the actual ceramic. New pads are in. One thing I do want to point out, this clip, this was the rear pad, and the new clip is on there properly, and the little safety clips are in. Now it's time to grab this entire bracket and put it back on the rotor. I purchased some anti-seize lubricant, and these are the bolts that will secure the bracket. Just like this, cover the entire thread portion of the bolt. Bracket is secure, the clips are properly installed, the pads are properly installed. Now it's time to carefully, as again you do not want to harm this brake line, rotate this caliper back on and secure it. As far as the caliper piston, if you can't do it by hand, you'll have to grab a C-clamp and compress this piston. Piston is compressed and flush. Now we are going to position it on the actual bracket and secure it. Secure the top and bottom screws, 14mm. Double check everything is secure, all the bolts and everything's on there tightly. And we are going to put the tire back on, secure the lug nuts, position the jack to a point where we can move the jack stand, lower the vehicle onto the tires. You want to do the exact same procedures on the opposite side and take it for a test drive. Also, the next video, what I'm going to do here in a few days, I'm going to run you through the step-by-step process on how to actually change the caliper. Definitely check that out. Thanks again. I think the hardest thing about the project that you may run into are just rusty bolts that take time to get off. Just be patient. That's it. I hope the video helped. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on your YouTube notifications. By that, every video we upload, you will be notified and you will be able to stay up to date with us, and that'll be awesome.